There are words which, when spoken with faith, become living seeds planted in the fertile garden of the subconscious. These words hold power, not because of their sound alone, but because they are charged with the belief of the one who utters them. Thought is a vibration, speech gives it form, belief makes it substance. The unseen responds instantly to the spoken word, and what is declared in faith begins to clothe itself with visible conditions. Money, though often misunderstood, is but a symbol of supply. It flows like water to those who recognize its divine source and allow it to move freely, without fear or resistance. Lack is never in reality. It is but the shadow cast by doubt and unbelief. Abundance is the eternal truth, and when one aligns with that truth, great sums of money may rush forth from expected and unexpected channels. The secret lies not in striving, nor in anxious labor, but in speaking the word with unwavering certainty. The lips may utter many phrases, but only the declaration rooted in conviction carries the current of manifestation. To say it once, just once, with the full force of faith, is to set in motion the invisible machinery that brings wealth into form. The universe is not deaf, nor is it slow to respond, rather it is precise, exact and swift when the command is clear. One must stand as if already in possession, speaking as the owner of riches rather than the seeker of them. The subconscious mind, like a faithful servant, obeys the tone of authority. When you speak your word with assurance, it does not argue. It does not delay, it only proceeds to fulfill. The spoken decree becomes law in the unseen, and soon the outer life reflects the inner declaration. To attract large sums of money, one does not beg, plead, or chase. These actions only affirm lack. Instead, one must recognize that money is an obedient messenger, ready to serve its rightful master. It comes to those who speak to it as to a trusted friend, with confidence, with certainty, and with love. Fear chases it away, faith calls it near. The one who says the word once, with the fire of absolute belief, does not need to repeat it in desperation. For the word, once spoken in faith, is eternal. It travels swiftly through the unseen, gathering substance, arranging circumstances, opening doors, and touching hearts, until the sum declared is delivered. Therefore, prepare the inner chamber of thought. Sweep it clean of doubt, fear, and unbelief. Fill it with the fragrance of expectancy. When the mind is still and the heart is steadfast, speak your word, not many times, not with wavering, but once, with divine certainty. In that single utterance lies the key to riches untold, for the universe always answers the clear, fearless voice of faith. The spoken word becomes law in the unseen, for the unseen is the realm of cause, and the visible world is but its effect. Every word uttered is more than mere sound. It is vibration, energy, and command. When one speaks, the word travels outward, but it also travels inward, impressing itself upon the subconscious mind, which is the silent builder of all conditions. The subconscious does not argue, nor does it reason. It only accepts the vibration impressed upon it. Therefore, when words are spoken with authority and faith, they pass beyond the surface mind and become the decree that the unseen forces obey. Throughout time, the power of the spoken word has been emphasized in sacred teachings, parables, and wisdom traditions. In the beginning, creation itself was called forth by a word. This is no idle poetry but a profound truth. Speech is a force that sets into motion currents unseen by the physical eye. When one speaks, thought is clothed in sound, and sound is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. Just as a seed planted in soil begins to grow in darkness before it breaks into light, so too does the spoken word germinate in the unseen before appearing as visible results. Every individual carries within themselves the creative power of the word, yet many scatter it carelessly, speaking of fear, lack, and limitation, unaware that such words also take root. To say, I cannot, I lack, or I fear is to write law upon the subconscious, and the unseen world rushes to confirm it. The law is impersonal. It does not choose between good or bad, rich or poor. It only mirrors what has been spoken with belief. Thus, to understand that the spoken word becomes law is to understand both the peril and the promise of speech. If one guards the tongue and speaks only words of power, prosperity, and health, the unseen aligns itself to produce those very conditions. The spoken word carries its strength not only in sound but in tone, conviction, and intent. A word uttered timidly has little power, for it carries hesitation and doubt. But a word spoken with calm certainty, with the quiet authority of one who knows, resounds through the unseen like a trumpet call. The subconscious does not respond to repetition alone, it responds to the vibration of belief. A single phrase spoken once with complete faith carries far more power than 100 words mumbled with uncertainty. The law of the unseen listens not to the many words, but to the energy behind them. When one declares, "I am rich," "I am supplied," or "I am divinely provided for," the unseen takes these words as commands. The subconscious mind immediately sets about rearranging circumstances, people and events to reflect this declaration. The channels may be hidden, the methods unknown, but the law is sure. The unseen is the workshop of creation, and words are the blueprints handed to it. To speak poverty is to design poverty, to speak abundance is to design abundance. The blueprint does not question, it builds. It is essential to recognize that the spoken word is not mere affirmation but law. Affirmations, when recited without belief, are often like scattered seeds upon rocky ground, quickly withering. But when one speaks as though the decree is already established, with the dignity and authority of truth, then the unseen is compelled to act. Law does not delay. Law does not forget. The law of the unseen is precise and exact, delivering according to the decree. This is why words of doubt, spoken even in jest, can plant seeds of delay, while words of faith spoken in stillness can overturn mountains of impossibility. Consider how the spoken word operates in everyday life. A parent tells a child they are clever, capable, and strong, and over time, the child grows into that vision, because the subconscious has accepted those words as identity. Likewise, a parent who calls a child foolish or weak plants those seeds, and the unseen world produces circumstances that mirror the identity spoken over them. The law is impartial, it responds to all words spoken with authority. Every casual phrase, every careless declaration is a seed. Thus, one must cultivate the habit of speech, as one cultivates a garden, pulling up the weeds of complaint, replacing them with words of power and beauty. The word, once spoken in faith, does not fade into nothingness. It continues to vibrate, to create, to draw to itself the elements necessary for fulfillment. Just as a seed does not sprout immediately yet is alive beneath the soil, so too the word spoken with belief may not show instant results, but is alive in the unseen. Doubt uproots the seed, faith leaves it planted. One who knows this truth speaks the word and then rests, certain that the law is working beyond sight. The unseen is never idle. It is ceaseless in its operation, faithful to the decree. The spoken word is also magnetic. It attracts to itself like vibrations, drawing circumstances, opportunities, and even people who match its tone. To speak of wealth draws wealth, to speak of joy draws joy, to speak of health draws health. Conversely, to dwell on misfortune, disease, or limitation is to magnetize those very conditions. The unseen is a perfect mirror, reflecting what has been projected into it. If one desires prosperity, one must speak prosperity. If one desires harmony, one must speak harmony. The law is unfailing, and the word is always the beginning of creation. When the spoken word becomes law in the unseen, the individual stands as a co-creator with the divine. Every phrase uttered with faith is an act of creation, a decree that the invisible forces hasten to fulfill. The one who understands this principle no longer speaks idly, no longer indulges in careless words of lack, criticism, or fear. Instead, they measure each word, knowing that it carries weight in the unseen. They speak deliberately, with confidence, with clarity, and with power. Their words are few, but each is charged with conviction. The law of the unseen does not measure length or volume, it measures belief. One word of faith outweighs 1,000 of doubt, for the law hears only the vibration of certainty. The spoken word becomes law in the unseen, and in that moment of speech, the future is written. Each declaration shapes the path ahead, for the unseen does not delay. it begins at once to form the conditions spoken. To say, I live in abundance, is to set the unseen in motion to arrange abundance. To say, I am always provided for, is to activate channels of provision. To say, large sums of money come to me, is to invite the law to fulfill that decree in ways beyond comprehension. The unseen does not fail, it cannot. It is bound by its own precision to obey the command impressed upon it. Money is a symbol of divine supply, not struggle. For it is never an end in itself, but a representation of the infinite abundance of life. To believe money is scarce or difficult to obtain is to mistake the symbol for the source. The source of all supply is infinite, limitless, and ever flowing, and money is one of its channels of expression. Just as a stream of water is evidence of the vast ocean from which it originates, money is but a trickle of the great sea of substance that lies unseen. The individual who understands this truth ceases to chase after money with fear or anxiety, for they know the supply is already theirs by divine right. Money is not a master, nor is it a tyrant. It is a servant and a tool, designed to flow in and out freely, carrying with it the energy of circulation. Struggle arises only when one clings to it in fear or pushes it away in resentment. Many believe that to possess money is to be burdened with greed, or that to desire wealth is to sin against spirit. Yet such beliefs are rooted in ignorance of the truth. Money itself carries no moral weight. It is neutral, taking on the character of the one who holds it. In the hands of one filled with faith, it becomes a channel of blessing. In the hands of one filled with fear, it becomes a symbol of loss or lack. The substance itself is pure, and it flows abundantly when it is recognized as part of the divine order. When one begins to see money as a symbol, rather than a struggle, a great shift takes place. Fear subsides, anxiety dissolves, and effort gives way to ease. The law of supply is simple. What one recognizes as truth manifests in form. If one views money as scarce, the law provides conditions of scarcity. If one sees money as limitless, the law provides opportunities and channels to mirror that belief. The unseen world is abundant beyond measure, and money is one of its easiest and most natural expressions. It does not require toil, sweat, or endless striving to appear. It requires alignment with the principle that all is provided. The individual who struggles for money often does so because they see themselves as separated from supply. They believe they must labor endlessly to grasp a small portion of what is available. But in truth, there is no separation. Just as a branch is nourished by the tree without effort, so is the individual sustained by the infinite source. Money, when rightly understood, flows naturally, without resistance. The moment one releases the thought of separation and affirms unity with the divine supply, doors open, channels appear, and provision arrives in perfect timing. The struggle ends, because the struggle was never necessary. It was only a shadow cast by false belief. Money is energy in motion, and energy must circulate. The attempt to hoard, to cling, or to lock it away from circulation, interrupts the flow and creates stagnation. Yet when money is recognized as a symbol of divine supply, one gives it freely, receives it freely, and trusts the cycle of circulation. The ocean does not fear that its waves will not return, for each tide follows the rhythm of eternal law. So too does money return, when it is allowed to flow with ease. Generosity becomes natural, gratitude becomes constant, and fear of loss dissolves. One cannot lose that which is infinite in essence. One can only block its flow through belief in lack. Money, as a symbol, responds to thought and feeling. When it is pursued with desperation, it retreats, for desperation is rooted in the recognition of absence. When it is welcomed with joy and gratitude, it flows, for gratitude is rooted in recognition of abundance. The individual who sees money as struggle chases endlessly, never catching, for their belief in struggle is what the law reflects. But the individual who sees money as divine supply attracts it without effort, for their belief in abundance draws abundance. The unseen law is impartial, and it answers precisely according to recognition. There are those who labor heavily, believing money to be earned only by pain and sweat, and yet they find themselves always in lack. There are others who labor lightly, even joyfully, and find themselves continually supplied. The difference lies not in the outer work, but in the inner recognition. Work itself is not the source. It is only one of many channels through which the infinite supply flows. To mistake the channel for the source is to create dependence and limitation. To recognize the source behind the channel is to remain free, knowing that if one channel closes, another must open. For the source is infinite and cannot be exhausted. Money should never be confused with possession, nor should it be feared as fleeting. It is like air, always present, always circulating, always sufficient for all who breathe. The breath does not struggle, it flows. So too does money, when it is seen rightly. To think of it as scarce is to close the lungs of the soul. To think of it as abundant is to breathe freely. The more one trusts in its flow, the more naturally it comes. The less one fears its absence, the less absence appears. The unseen always reflects the consciousness held within. When one sees money as divine supply, gratitude replaces grasping. Each coin, each bill, each transaction becomes a reminder of the infinite abundance behind it. To give is to participate in the circulation of supply, and to receive is to affirm its presence. Neither giving nor receiving is superior, both are expressions of the same current. The one who hesitates to receive blocks the flow as much as the one who hesitates to give. To see money as struggle is to resist this circulation, but to see it as symbol is to participate fully in its dance. Money never comes from struggle, but from recognition. The great sums of wealth that appear in the lives of some are not accidents, nor are they unfair gifts. They are reflections of the inner state of recognition. One who knows themselves as united with infinite supply will naturally attract and hold money, not by clinging but by resting in the certainty of its flow. One who fears lack will repel money, even if it arrives for a season, for their inner recognition drives it away. The law is exact, responding not to effort but to belief. Money is a symbol of divine supply. And this truth is the foundation of ease in financial matters. The one who understands it does not labor with anxiety, nor do they hoard with fear. They see every dollar, every coin, every gift, and every opportunity as a reminder of the infinite. They rest in the certainty that supply is constant, that money flows as naturally as breath, that it is never the object of struggle but the evidence of abundance. In this recognition, they align with the law of supply, and money, obedient to its nature, flows toward them in ever-increasing measure. Faith-filled speech attracts. Fear-filled speech repels, for the vibration carried by words is the true magnet of experience. Words are not empty sounds, they are carriers of energy, wrapped in the tone of belief with which they are spoken. The subconscious mind, and the greater unseen forces of life, do not respond to the outer syllables, but to the inner conviction behind them. When words are spoken with faith, they are charged with a force that draws to them the conditions of fulfillment. When words are spoken with fear, they repel good and summon the very conditions feared. The law of attraction through speech is unerring, for it does not distinguish between wanted or unwanted, it only mirrors the vibration impressed upon it. The power of speech lies in its ability to clothe thought with sound. Thought alone creates vibrations, but when given form through the spoken word, its potency multiplies. A thought of wealth kept silently may begin to shape the inner atmosphere, but a spoken word of wealth carries the vibration outward, striking not only the subconscious, but the universal field of energy that connects all things. When such a word is uttered in faith, it becomes a decree that sets unseen currents into motion. Like a command to loyal servants, it is obeyed without question. Yet when a word is spoken in fear, the same law operates, but in reverse. Fearful speech becomes an order for lack, limitation, and loss, and these conditions hasten to obey as faithfully as wealth and abundance do. Faith-filled speech is not mere repetition of positive phrases. Its power is not in the words themselves, but in the conviction that animates them. One may say, "I am prosperous," 1,000 times, yet if fear lies beneath, the vibration of lack overrides the sound of prosperity. But when one says it once, from a heart filled with certainty, the unseen responds immediately. Faith transforms words into living seeds, bursting with creative power. Fear drains them of life, leaving them empty shells that produce only shadows. Thus, it is not the number of words, but the quality of belief that determines their outcome. Faith-filled speech has a drawing power, because faith itself is a recognition of truth. To speak in faith is to align with the reality of abundance, harmony, and provision that already exists in the unseen. Such words call forth what is already present, bringing it into visible expression. Fear-filled speech, on the other hand, aligns with illusion, declaring as truth the false appearance of lack. Because the subconscious does not distinguish between truth and falsehood, it builds conditions according to the belief carried in the word. When one speaks of failure in fear, failure is drawn near. When one speaks of success in faith, success rushes to meet them. Every word spoken is like the planting of a seed. The soil of the subconscious receives it without question. A word of faith, planted and watered with expectancy, grows into a tree of abundance. A word of fear, planted and watered with anxiety, grows into thorns of limitation. The soil is neutral, it does not choose what to grow. It is the sower who chooses the seed, whether of faith or of fear. Most people scatter seeds of fear without realizing it, speaking of bills, debts, illnesses, and failures as though rehearsing them could relieve them. In truth, such speech only strengthens the very conditions they wish to escape. The one who guards their tongue and speaks only faith-filled words begins to see transformation, for their garden grows fruitful with blessings. Faith-filled speech attracts because it vibrates with expectancy. It is as though the speaker already lives in the reality of their word. When someone declares, "Money flows to me easily," and does so with calm assurance, the vibration sent forth is one of already having. That vibration magnetizes the matching condition. Fear-filled speech repels because it vibrates with absence. To say, "I never have enough money," with conviction is to impress upon the unseen the reality of lack, which then reproduces itself faithfully. The law is not partial, it obeys both faith and fear with the same accuracy. The tone of the voice, the feeling behind the words, and the imagination that accompanies them all contribute to their magnetic power. Words spoken with faith are usually calm, steady, and sure. They carry no trace of desperation. They ring with certainty, and the subconscious hears them as commands. Words spoken with fear are often frantic, rushed, or heavy. They carry doubt, and the subconscious hears them as warnings to create the very conditions feared. The unseen cannot differentiate between what is desired and what is dreaded. It only echoes back the vibration impressed upon it. It is not uncommon for individuals to wonder why their affirmations do not work, even as they repeat positive phrases daily. The answer lies in the hidden vibration behind their words. If fear dominates their inner state, the words of faith are neutralized, like seeds scattered on rocky ground. But when fear is replaced with trust, even a single word spoken with faith carries immense power. The unseen world does not measure quantity but quality. A whispered phrase of belief can outweigh 1,000 shouts of doubt, for it is the vibration, not the volume, that creates. Faith-filled speech attracts opportunities, resources, people, and circumstances that match its vibration. It acts like a magnet, drawing into form the conditions already declared. Those who continually speak of prosperity in faith soon find that doors open for them in unexpected ways. Ideas come, chances appear, and money flows. Their words create a current that pulls abundance toward them. Fear-filled speech, on the other hand, pushes away good. Those who continually speak of lack repel prosperity, even if it attempts to reach them. Opportunities slip away, doors remain closed, and difficulties multiply, for their words push abundance aside as surely as faith-filled words draw it near. The individual who understands this principle becomes deliberate in speech. They no longer speak casually of fears or limitations, for they know every word plants a seed in the unseen. They discipline themselves to speak only words of faith, even in the face of appearances to the contrary. They do not deny the facts of life, but they refuse to give them power through fearful speech. Instead, They declare the higher truth of abundance, health, and success, knowing that the unseen responds to faith, not appearances. Faith-filled speech attracts because it resonates with divine law, while fear-filled speech repels because it resists it. Faith is harmony with truth, while fear is discord with it. When one speaks with faith, they step into alignment with the abundant order of the universe. When one speaks with fear, they fall into opposition, blocking the flow of good. Both faith and fear are creative forces, and both find their expression through the spoken word. The wise choose faith, knowing it alone has the power to attract the good that is already theirs by divine right. Speak once with certainty, not repeatedly with doubt, for the word spoken in faith is like a decree etched into the unseen, and it does not fade nor lose its power once declared. The subconscious mind does not require endless repetition to obey, it requires clarity, conviction, and assurance. When a word is spoken once with absolute certainty, it carries the full force of creative law, and the unseen moves swiftly to bring it into form. To speak the same word again and again with uncertainty is to weaken its vibration, for repetition born of fear plants the seed of doubt alongside the seed of truth, and the harvest becomes confused. The great creative law responds instantly to authority. Just as a servant does not need to be commanded 1,000 times to perform a single task, so too does the unseen not require endless insistence. One command spoken clearly is enough. The moment the word is spoken with certainty, it is written upon the subconscious, and the unseen begins arranging circumstances, events, and channels to fulfill it. To speak it again with doubt is to suggest the law has not acted, which is to withdraw faith and delay manifestation. The difference lies not in the number of words spoken, but in the spirit from which they come. The one who understands the power of certainty speaks sparingly. They know that a single phrase, when charged with unwavering belief, holds more power than 1,000 utterances born of fear. They do not rush to repeat their decree, nor do they question its fulfillment. They rest in calm assurance, knowing the word has been planted, and that the soil of the unseen is faithful to grow it. To speak once in certainty is to plant a seed and trust the process. To repeat with doubt is to dig up the seed, questioning whether it has taken root, and in doing so, one prevents it from sprouting. When one says, "Large sums of money come to me," and says it once with conviction, the subconscious receives it as fact. The unseen responds, setting into motion invisible currents that align with the statement. The word is now alive, traveling through unseen realms, gathering the elements necessary for fulfillment. There is no need to repeat, for the decree has already been issued. But when one repeats the same phrase in fear, saying it with hesitation or desperation, they are no longer affirming abundance, but instead affirming lack, suggesting that the unseen has not yet answered. The energy of doubt cancels the power of the original decree, and the flow is delayed. Certainty carries with it an unmistakable tone. It is calm, steady, and unshaken by appearances. The voice of certainty does not plead, does not beg, and does not waver. It declares as though the thing spoken is already established. This is why the unseen obeys so faithfully, for the vibration of certainty matches the reality of the unseen, where all good already exists. Doubt, however, speaks with urgency, with strain, with the sound of one who believes they are still lacking. The unseen mirrors this vibration as faithfully as it mirrors certainty, creating conditions that reflect doubt. To speak once with certainty requires faith in the law. It requires trust that the unseen is obedient and exact, that once the word is spoken, the process is already underway. Many fail to trust this law, and so they repeat endlessly, as though the unseen were deaf or indifferent. In truth, the unseen is neither deaf nor forgetful, it is precise, responding instantly to faith-filled speech. The repetition born of fear does not remind the unseen of the command. It only reveals the speaker's disbelief in the fulfillment. Faith is the assurance that one utterance is enough. The principle can be seen in every aspect of life. When a person of authority gives an instruction, it is followed without question. They do not repeat themselves, for their word carries weight. The same is true in the realm of the unseen. To speak once with certainty is to speak as one who knows their authority. To repeat with doubt is to speak as one who questions their own power. The unseen obeys the one who knows, for the vibration of certainty is irresistible. It draws the fulfillment swiftly, while doubt pushes it farther away. One must also understand that certainty is not loudness. It is not the force of volume that compels the unseen, but the inner strength of belief. A whisper spoken in faith can carry more power than a shout spoken in fear. The unseen does not measure words by sound but by vibration. A single word, quietly declared with certainty, echoes in the unseen until it brings forth results. Repetition with doubt, no matter how loud or frequent, falls empty, for the vibration of disbelief drains its power. There is wisdom in speaking once and then resting in silence. After the decree is made, one must live as though it is already true. To continue repeating it with uncertainty is to confess it has not been fulfilled. But to move forward in confidence, acting and thinking as though the word has already manifested, strengthens the vibration of certainty. The unseen responds not only to words but also to the atmosphere carried after they are spoken. A life lived in expectancy, gratitude, and assurance reinforces the words spoken once in faith, ensuring its swift fulfillment. This principle reveals the difference between commanding and begging. To command is to speak once with authority, knowing the word is law. To beg is to repeat endlessly, hoping to be heard. The unseen does not respond to begging, for begging carries the vibration of lack. It responds to commanding, for commanding carries the vibration of possession. When one commands with certainty, they declare themselves aligned with abundance. When one begs with doubt, they declare themselves separate from it. The law reflects both states faithfully. The mind that doubts seeks constant reassurance. It repeats phrases, not to affirm truth, but to soothe its own uncertainty. Yet this very repetition creates more uncertainty, for each time the phrase is spoken with doubt, the subconscious is reminded of lack. The cycle continues, and manifestation remains out of reach. But the mind that believes requires no reassurance. It speaks once, with calm certainty, and then turns its attention to gratitude, expectancy, and joy. It does not question, it does not seek proof. It simply rests in knowing. To speak once with certainty is to align fully with the principle that the unseen is always at work. It is to understand that words are not suggestions but decrees. The one who speaks in certainty knows their word cannot fail, for it is backed by divine law. They know the unseen is already arranging the path, already aligning the channels, already preparing the manifestation. Their confidence is unshaken, and so their word is fulfilled quickly. To repeat with doubt is to show mistrust in the law, and mistrust delays what certainty would have delivered. The spoken word is like a key turning a lock. Once the lock is opened, the door swings wide. There is no need to keep turning the key. To speak once with certainty is to open the door to abundance. To keep repeating with doubt is to rattle the handle endlessly, as though the door were still closed. The law of the unseen is exact and unfailing. It answers once the decree is given, but only certainty keeps the door open long enough for the fulfillment to enter. The subconscious obeys the tone of authority, for it is the silent servant of the conscious mind, receiving every command without question or hesitation. It does not reason, it does not analyze, and it does not debate. Whatever impression is given to it with conviction becomes its law, and it sets about to manifest it in the visible world. The subconscious responds not to idle words or half-hearted phrases but to the authority with which those words are spoken. A weak and uncertain command carries little weight, but a word spoken with confidence, with assurance, and with certainty is received instantly and acted upon. The subconscious is like fertile soil, ready to grow whatever seed is planted. The seed is the spoken word, and the condition of growth is determined by the authority behind it. If one speaks timidly, as though unsure of their right to abundance, the seed falls lightly and produces little. If one speaks boldly, as though declaring truth, the seed sinks deeply into the soil and begins to grow with power. The The subconscious does not care whether the seed is of prosperity or lack, of health or sickness, of success or failure. It only cares how it is planted, whether with authority or with uncertainty. The tone of the command is what determines the harvest. Authority in speech is not loudness, nor is it force of personality. It is the quiet, steady confidence that comes from belief. A whisper of certainty has greater impact than a shout of fear. The subconscious hears beyond words. It feels the vibration of conviction. When the conscious mind speaks, as though what is declared is already true, the subconscious accepts it as fact and moves to bring it forth. This is why declarations spoken once with faith can carry more power than endless repetition spoken with doubt. Authority does not beg, does not plead, and does not question. It declares, and in that declaration, it commands the unseen to obey. The subconscious is impartial. It does not choose between good or bad, success or failure, wealth or poverty. It simply obeys the command given with authority. When someone says, "I can never get ahead," and speaks it with conviction, the subconscious ensures that circumstances reflect that statement. When someone says, "I am always supplied," and speaks it with equal conviction, the subconscious ensures that opportunities and resources appear. The law is exact, and it never fails. The subconscious only asks, "What is the command?" and then proceeds to fulfill it. The conscious mind, through the tone of authority, decides the direction of life. The tone of authority is cultivated through faith. When one truly believes that their words carry power, they speak with a natural authority that the subconscious cannot resist. Faith fills the voice with conviction, and that conviction is the signal that the subconscious obeys. Doubt weakens authority, for doubt produces hesitation in speech. A command given in uncertainty is like an arrow that falls short of its target. A command given in faith strikes true and sets the unseen into motion. The one who believes in their own power to speak reality into form speaks fewer words, but each word is heavy with authority. The subconscious operates constantly, shaping conditions and drawing experiences in alignment with the commands it has received. It works tirelessly, beyond waking awareness, arranging people, circumstances, and events to fulfill the law impressed upon it. This is why casual speech, careless phrases, and idle declarations carry such weight. Even when spoken without thought, words delivered with emotional charge become commands. Complaints spoken in frustration, fears voiced with intensity, doubts expressed with conviction. All of these are heard by the subconscious as authority and are acted upon. The wise therefore guard their speech, knowing that every word carries seeds of creation. Authority in speech is not only about words, but about the feeling behind them. The subconscious is moved by emotion, and emotion adds weight to the command. A declaration of abundance, spoken with joy, gratitude, and certainty, carries tremendous authority. A declaration of lack, spoken with fear, anger, or resentment, carries equal authority in the opposite direction. The subconscious obeys both with equal precision, for it does not judge, it only fulfills. This is why it is essential to speak not only words of truth, but words filled with the feeling of truth. The vibration of authority is born from the union of word and emotion. When one says, "I am wealthy," but speaks it with hesitation, the subconscious remains unmoved, for the tone lacks authority. When one says, "I am wealthy," with calm assurance, as though stating a fact already established, the subconscious accepts it without question and begins to create the outer conditions to match. Authority is not loud, forceful, or dramatic. It is steady, unwavering, and confident. It does not demand results with desperation, for desperation betrays disbelief. Authority rests in certainty, knowing the word once spoken is already fulfilled in the unseen. The subconscious is the gateway through which the unseen becomes visible, and authority is the key that unlocks it. Without authority, words fall away like seeds cast on barren ground. With authority, words sink deep and grow strong, shaping reality with precision. This is why so many fail to manifest what they desire. They speak words of hope rather than words of command. Hope lacks the vibration of authority, for it suggests uncertainty. Faith speaks with authority, for it knows. The subconscious responds to knowing, not to wishing. Life itself becomes a reflection of the authority with which one speaks. Those who carry doubt in their tone experience conditions of instability, for the subconscious mirrors their uncertainty. Those who carry faith in their tone experience conditions of strength and abundance, for the subconscious mirrors their conviction. Authority shapes every area of life: health, wealth, relationships, and opportunities, because the subconscious governs them all, drawing from the unseen to build the seen. To speak with authority is to take hold of this power and direct it consciously. The subconscious is like an obedient builder. It does not question the blueprint, it only builds. The blueprint is the word spoken with authority. If the blueprint says scarcity, it builds scarcity. If the blueprint says abundance, it builds abundance. The builder does not argue, nor does it pause to ask if the plan is wise. It simply follows. The conscious mind, through speech, hands the plan to the builder. Authority ensures that the plan is taken seriously, while doubt makes the plan weak and unstable. The result is always a perfect reflection of the command given. To cultivate authority, one must train the conscious mind to speak deliberately. This means refusing to utter words of fear or limitation, even in jest, for the subconscious does not recognize humor or exaggeration. It only recognizes vibration. It means choosing words of truth and speaking them as facts already established. It means holding the inner state of certainty, so that every word carries weight. The more one practices speaking with authority, the more natural it becomes, and the more quickly the subconscious responds. The subconscious obeys the tone of authority because authority signals alignment with divine law. The universe itself is orderly, exact, and abundant. When one speaks with authority, they align with this order, and the subconscious rushes to match that vibration in the outer world. When one speaks with doubt, they signal misalignment, and the subconscious reflects disorder, delay, and struggle. The tone of authority is therefore not an affectation, but a reflection of inner faith. It cannot be faked, for the subconscious hears beyond words and detects the true vibration beneath them. The one who understands that the subconscious obeys authority speaks sparingly but powerfully. They do not waste words, nor do they scatter their energy with idle talk. They speak only what they desire to see, and they speak at once with certainty. Their words are law to the subconscious, and their life reflects the authority with which they speak.